Hi, I'm Danielle DeLeo Kim, Executive Director of Philadelphia 250. In 2026, the country will commemorate the 250th anniversary of American independence. So I invite you to listen in and get inspired to take action as Philadelphia 250 brings together thought leaders and changemakers to share what those founding promises mean to them now and in the pursuit to 2026.
Hello, my name is Denise Clay, and I'm a political correspondent for the Philadelphia Sunday Sun. And I'd like to welcome you all to Philadelphia 250, part of the In the Pursuit series. We're looking at revolutionary actions today, and I'm joined by City Councilperson Kendra Brooks and Jasmine Sessoms. Can you tell us a little bit about yourselves?
Hi, I am Councilmember Kendra Brooks for the City of Philadelphia. I just won the elections, 7 months ago, I think now. I entered politics for being an activist, community organizer, and of course, an awesome mom. I am the first Working Families Party candidate to win an elected office here in Philadelphia. So I'm a third party. I'm not Democrat, not Republican, and actually made history just by taking a chance and believing that it's important for us to fight for what we believe in. And when someone tells you no, go for it anyway. So that's a little bit about me.
Okay, and Jasmine?
Hi, I'm Jasmine Sessoms. I am fortunate to run an organization called She Can Win. We're a completely nonpartisan organization that focuses on training women, but specifically women of color, to run for office and to take leadership positions on political campaigns. I also have the pleasure of being the Senior Vice President of Corporate Affairs for Hilco Redevelopment Partners. And in that role, I am the liaison between the media, the government, and most importantly, the community. And I get to tell the great message of Hilco.
My next question to both of you, because when you look at what you all are doing, you don't see a whole lot of women in positions of, let's just call it what it is, power. You don't see a whole lot of women in positions of power. You particularly don't see a whole lot of women of color in positions of power. What are some of the adjustments you've had to, what have you actually had to teach people about yourself and your communities and what it is you do as part of the work that you do?
I think for me, I think I bring a different perspective into that space. I think, I represent myself as being like a part of the people, really from the people. That's something I try to interject in every space that I'm in and also bring that into legislation, like the different perspective of what we talk about poverty in our city, but we talk about it from a theoretic perspective. That's the conversation I have to keep interjecting into the room because the real live stories of people are sometimes absent when we start talking about theory and rhetoric.
And Jasmine?
For me, when I started, it was alarming that I didn't see a lot of people that looked like me. And these were the
Mhm.
people making laws and kind of shaping what we were doing on a day-to-day basis and things that affect me and affect my husband and affect my kids. So I wanted to know why. I just got really curious and I started asking. And uh, you know, I heard about the political barriers. I heard about the Old Boys Club, and well, not just on the Democratic side, but the Republican side too. Again, we're completely nonpartisan. So I wanted to change that. And, they didn't really give me a seat at that table. I remember trying to have meeting after meeting with leaders in the parties, and they just, I'm this little brown girl that is unapologetically black and unapologetically advocating for black people and specifically black women. That wasn't necessarily the messaging of either party. So I was like, you know what? I don't need to sit at your table. I'm gonna build my own table. And we're going to show you what we can do. And slowly and surely, I truly do believe that we are changing the face of politics in Philadelphia with people like Councilwoman Brooks, with people like Councilwoman Maria Kiona Sanchez. The face of politics is changing.
How do you navigate being in many cases, the only Black woman in the room. And what is that like?
I mean, I think for me, I almost expect to be the only Black person at this point in the room, in the spaces that I'm in, because again, like you were saying, Denise, there's just not a lot of us showing up in the spaces. Like when I go to activist groups and activist meetings about like voter suppression and things, to be honest, a lot of those people are not African Americans. I am completely like unopinionated when it comes to this work because I represent a bigger body, and that takes time to do. And it's taken me 10 years to get to this point of representing a larger body. But when you hear me speak, you don't hear me speak as Jasmine Sessoms. These are my opinions. This is me speaking for my community.
And council
Some,
person?
yeah, sure. Similar to Jasmine, I think even before my activism years and I was working in corporate America, like she said, I'm used to being the only Black woman in spaces. So you just get used to being that person. And I think over the years, I learned how to walk into those rooms 100% is who I am, not feeling like I need to change who I am or my appearance. And I think that's what kind of brought me to being comfortable with this right now, being in, like you said, the old boys club. Realization is that being a Black woman in America, especially when you're uh, trying to do dynamic things, you often will be the only one representing your people, and you just learn how to stand in those shoes um, and make your presence known.
Now, is that slightly easier for you, council person, because you're not the only woman of color in your particular room?
I think one of the benefits of having women of color in spaces, we all have that understanding of what it took for us to be here. So even if there's a difference in opinion, we have a way of addressing it and finding ways to working together to for a smooth transition. I think I think this is the first time in council. I think we have 7 women of color like in city council. That's historic as well. And I think we find ways to just continue to work together around issues that we care about. We all care about our families. We all care about our communities. Um, and we all care about Philadelphia.
As part of this, we are being asked to imagine 2026, the 250th anniversary of America here in Philadelphia, where America basically got started. Um, what are your hopes for Philadelphia and the country as we get to this milestone anniversary?
I would say my biggest hope is that there are no more firsts. I don't want to see another, oh, first woman Black mayor, first woman, first Black person to sit here. No more firsts in 2026. It will just be commonplace to see Black people, but specifically Black women in leadership positions and positions of power. You would almost be shocked if you did not see a person of color sitting in a room full of powerful people. It would be a shock if you did not see equal representation or parity. That is my wildest dream for 2026. No more first.
Oh wow, I
Okay.
echo those same things. Wow.
Hey, council lady.
Yes, you just make me excited. Um, so I think I'm going to take a hyper local focus. You know, I think when I think of Philadelphia 2026, with us being the poorest big city in the country, um, I would like to see us not having this conversation about housing insecurity and food scarcity and gun violence like we see currently. Like creating a place that is beautiful for our children, um, and realizing that our city is a beautiful place to be in, but we're not always represented that way. I would like to see a place where the wealth in our city is not concentrated in a small amount of people in a few neighborhoods, where we can see a Philadelphia that's affordable and sustainable and livable for all the people here. Um, yeah, those are the things that I would like to see for 2026. And I believe Jasmine's vision and my vision together can get us to a place where, the power of women of color being in these spaces, making solid changes to strengthen families and communities.
Okay. Now, right now we're in kind of a revolutionary sort of vibe, for one of a better way to put it, where you have people taking to the streets, you know, demanding things like reform to the criminal justice system, economic equality, true, you know, equity, not necessarily equality, um, and different things like that. How do you get people to take that from the streets to legislation, or to places where it actually um where you can where it actually leads to the kind of change that we need? How do we get young people involved to want to do that? How did you how what made you as a young person want to get involved in this?
I've really gotten into politics in my 20s. I fell into it. One of my good friends, Representative Harris, who I grew up with, was running. We're from the same neighborhood, and he kind of got me from my cushy corporate job and was like, I need people around me that I could trust. Come with me. And from that journey, that's where I saw how politics really, especially local politics, like you'll always hear me talk about local politics because I do believe that all politics are local. But I saw how like local politics can really shape our city and make it either really good or really bad. And I wanted to be a part of that.
I think for me, it's like being kind of deeply ingrained in the way people think and being able to reimagine something else, and having the bravery to talk about it. I think when we talk about, revolutionaries or visionaries, like my early work was around imagining better schools for our kids, like just that simple. And being a part of a parents group and having a vision to organize parents in schools that weren't usually at the table or in conversations. And I take that same uh, spirit with me as I move into, this political arena. But one thing I realized, one of my favorite revolutionaries is Ella Baker, and she said, "Strong people don't need strong leaders," and that's what I believe. I think that we're in a time now that if you're a true revolutionary or a true visionary, it's important that you empower and strengthen the people around you, because that's how you win. Um, and that's kind of how I see myself. That's how I see this current role that I'm in now. Like, yes, I'm a legislator. Yes, I'm here to make decisions. But like Jasmine said, before I make decisions, I consult with the people. Like everything I do is grounded in listening, um, and inspiring and empowering women like me that live around me, that have been around me, that have the same experiences, tap into their own inner strength to be able to envision something better, and become a revolutionary in their own right. And I think that's important. And that's how we begin to see more women stepping into position and being willing to step in and run for office. And I think that, yeah, it's grounded in that. Like, what is the vision that you have for the future?
The Declaration of Independence, which is kind of the basis for this conversation in a lot of ways, created rights for some of us, but not for all of us. And what does, I guess, as a Black woman, what is the 250th anniversary of America mean to you? Where where are we now as a country, and where do you think we can go? Where do you think we still need to go?
Ooh, Council Lady, I'm gonna let you go first.
All right. So when I think about the Declaration of Independence, right, we realize it was a document that wasn't written for women. It wasn't written for Black women. It wasn't written for Indigenous people. And we have to look at it with a critical eye. And part of that is making sure that we're able to be willing to talk about what real change looks like. I think people are afraid of change. So if we think about not just when it was written, but when other pieces were inserted into that, whether it was the right for women to vote, the right for Black folks to vote, um, the outlaw slavery, like we have to begin to look at not just that document with a critical eye, but every document after that. because realization that none of this was written for us.
I echo what the councilwoman says. The Declaration of Independence is not written for people that look like us on this line. It is not for Black and brown people. When I look at people like Councilwoman Brooks and Rep Harris and Councilman Kenyatta Johnson, along with Rep Dawkins, and they formed that Police Reform Commission, and I see them moving legislation that quickly. Look, I've been in Philadelphia my whole life. I'm 37 years old. I've never seen legislation move that quickly. And the fact that these young people, these young Black legislators that speak for us, got there, put together a solid plan and said, we're not moving until you make things better in our Black and brown communities. They looked at it and they made real change, Denise, like real reforms. Pens are being signed, laws are being put in place from this powerful small group of Black legislators that spoke for me, that spoke for my husband, that spoke for my babies. That gives me hope. That makes me, I get goosebumps talking about it. Just seeing that press conference, hearing those reforms, looking on social media and seeing them green check marks next to what they propose and what's getting done. That gives me hope that with them in office, we can do something different. Philadelphia can be a good place for us to live, work, and play. It can be equal for Black and brown people. So that just shows us we have to elect more people like them to make it an even playing ground.
You see young women graduating from high school, graduating from college, thinking about what they want to do next, and looking at the two of you and thinking, hey, that looks like something I might want to try. What advice would you give to them?
I'm a mom. I'm a daughter mom. Like, I have all girls. So my advice that I've been given, not just to young women, but to everyone, is you are enough and you have everything that you need to get through every obstacle. My story being a single mom, growing up in North Philly, when people kept telling me I can't, I've always had everything that I needed to get by. And all those obstacles that were in my way strengthened who I am to be able to be where I am right now. So that you are enough and you have everything you need is deep rooted in who I am and how I got here.
Man, what would I tell someone? Run in the opposite direction. No, I'm just kidding. But I would say, I too am a girl mom. I have all girls. I would say, one, develop really tough skin. Everybody is not going to be cheering for you, but keep centered your mission, your personal mission. And if your personal mission is to advocate for people in your community, hold tight to that, because it's easy to lose sight of it. Surround yourself with people that actually care about you. And I call them my kitchen cabinet, because sometimes you need support. You don't do this work in a silo. I am not by myself in this. There has been times where I called the councilwoman, like, what do you think about this? So you have to have a trusted circle and a kitchen cabinet of people that will support you and pour back into you, because this work is exhausting. Pour into yourself and take self-care. That's what I would tell someone.
And it's interesting that you say that because, like I said, there are not a whole lot of women who do my job, and there are even fewer Black women that do my job. And that ends up being something that we all talk about ways to get more Black women into that pipeline. So I want to thank you for, being a part of this conversation with me. This is actually a pretty, this is actually pretty fun. As a print reporter, I don't get to do this all that much. So I was really, happy when they asked me, and I was really happy that I was asked to do this with the two of you, because you're both people that I feel like I've been writing about and covering and paying real attention to for a long time. It's good that I now got to know a little bit more about you that I can now use in my writing.